the previous video, we learned about benchmarks and how they can benefit you. Now let's take a first-hand look at the benchmarks application. There are two roles associated with benchmarks: the benchmark admin role and the benchmark viewer role. Users with the benchmark admin role have the ability to opt in and opt out of benchmarks, as well as enable and disable different KPIs for benchmark monitoring. The more customers who opt in to data, the more data we have to benchmark against, so be sure to opt in. Additionally, the benchmark admin is able to access the setup and category modules in the benchmark application. Users with the benchmark viewer role have access to the dashboard module and are enabled to view all the benchmark data with no ability to opt in or out and no access to the dashboard setup. Here, we're logged in as a user with the admin role, who also has the benchmark admin role. To use the benchmarks module, we must first opt in. To do this, we navigate to the Setup module in the Benchmarks dashboard application. Here, we see the opt-in page, which provides a brief summarization explaining benchmarks. Before we opt in, we'll need to review the ServiceNow benchmark agreement. When we're done reading it, we select the checkbox and click Opt in. After opting in, the benchmark setup page is displayed. If for any reason we decide to opt out, we can click here. This is where we choose between IT Service Management KPIs or IT Operations Management KPIs. The KPIs displayed are based on the relevant KPIs associated with those particular products. Toggling these switches enables and disables the individual KPIs so we can choose which specific KPIs to track and monitor. If we wanted to save our changes, we would click here. Clicking on a KPI in the setup takes us to some additional information and key features. At the top, we see a definition of the KPI that informs us of the condition set and the type of data gathered for that KPI. Expanding this section allows us to see the conditions on which the KPI is based. We have the option to adjust this condition by changing these values and saving here. But for now, we're going to leave this one as it is. Now that we've completed the setup, let's go to our dashboard and take a look. On the benchmark dashboard, we see the individual cards for each KPI that we enabled during the setup. Here, we have options to filter our view by process. The default view allows us to see all enabled KPIs, which allows us to compare our data with all benchmark participants, regardless of industry. But we can also narrow it down by selecting any of these individually. Clicking here allows us to switch between the default card view or the list view. Here, we can switch between the ITSM and ITOM product KPIs. This shows the month for the data we're viewing, as well as the default industry that our benchmark data is being compared to when comparing against similar industries. We can change the industry type from this choice list, which provides several industry types to compare our data against. We also have the option to filter the benchmark data by the number of users when we want to compare data with companies that have a similar number of users as ours. And lastly, we can compare by region. In viewing the KPI cards, we have access to some key information. The name of the KPI is listed in the center of the card. This figure shows us the KPI value of this process for the month. If the value is green, then it means that we have exceeded the benchmark value for that KPI when compared to all other companies. And we can see that benchmark value here. If our KPI value is red, it means that we are performing less favorably than other customers for that particular KPI. This tells us what percentile this KPI fell into when compared with other customers. Clicking this icon displays a quick visualization of how this KPI has trended over the last 6 months. Clicking anywhere on the KPI card takes us to a more detailed chart that includes a benchmark visualization comparing our company to the global KPI performance trend. We also have access to the same information and filters that are visible on the KPI card. In addition, this value displays the percentage increase or decrease of the particular KPI when compared to the previous month. Clicking here expands the definition of the particular KPI we're viewing. And clicking here downloads a PDF copy of the full benchmark data report for the month to review and share. New to the Kingston release, Benchmarks contains recommendations. If a particular KPI is not performing the way you would like, the Benchmarks application offers recommendations that could help you improve those statistics. The name and details of the recommendation are listed here. These recommendations are ranked based upon the applications or plugins you have implemented on your instance and are individualized per customer. If we decide to take advantage of the recommendation, we can click here. Depending on the recommendation, we will be asked to follow a guided setup or taken to a documentation page that provides us with the information on how to implement the change. Recommendations may require different setups in order to implement. Once we have implemented a recommendation, we can click here. Marking a recommendation as implemented will place a marker on the performance trend chart, allowing us to keep track of the date on which the recommendation was implemented. Doing so will also remove it from the Recommendations tab and add it to the Implemented tab. If we wish to save the recommendation to review and implement at a later time, we can click here. Lastly, these tabs show us the recommendations listed for this KPI, the recommendations that we have implemented, and those that we have saved to review later. For more information, please consult our product documentation, knowledge base, or podcast, or ask a question in the ServiceNow community.